Only 12 minutes late this time.
Do you get
Go
a little
team.
notification when it starts streaming on your view as the guest?
No.
You
Well,
just trust
it
me.
has the little like red eye up the top, which I guess means
Yes,
recording
on air. Yeah, okay.
on air.
On air.
How are you, Simon? How
I'm
has
very.
your I guess we've had a few weeks off, haven't we?
Yes, we have missed a couple of weeks due to my fault. Although I really enjoy blaming you for most things. I this one.
I love being blamed. I love being the fall guy. It's great.
Yeah, I had a little health complication, but now that I wear my little earmuffs, I'm good again. I had a problem with my ear. Now it's fixed. I can actually hear in both ears for the first time. Yesterday was the first time in like 3 weeks, I think.
Wow.
So
It
I was able to
definitely
realign what I see and what I hear. The information makes sense again.
it's definitely important, a little bit important for a podcast where we're
Or
having a
driving.
conversation. You need to. Oh yeah, that's true. And
Yeah, I had to
basically
drive, and
everything.
you bypass a truck, and you know it's here because you see it, but you no, you know it's on the right, whatever, but you hear it on the left, and it's like you almost want to.
Man, that would be so disorienting.
Yeah,
Did you have to stop like basketball and all
everything.
other?
I
Yeah.
haven't done. I actually started playing on the Monday night, the first night, but I went like kind of half speed because of being worried and unfit. But yeah, I went to the US for EpiConf, and then when I came back, this happened. So I haven't done any surfing or basketball or anything for like a whole month and a bit.
My goodness.
And yeah,
Time to get
surfing is
back
the
out there.
best in the world in April and May, and I just watched the whole prime season just lapse by while I sit at home.
You know the water's cold, right?
No, it's super
Maybe
warm.
it's not as cold down. Is it really warm
No,
up
that's the
there?
thing about autumn is the ocean follows the seasons by one season delay. So summer is getting warm, and then autumn is the warmest, and then winter is getting cold, and spring is actually the coldest anywhere in the
Okay.
world because there's such a big mass of water, and it's not really the temperature, it's the currents and all. Anyway, quick geography weatherology lesson. The wind always travels from cold to hot. Yeah. And so in autumn, the air is cold on the land and the water is warm. So the water goes from the land to the water, which means it's offshore. And as a surfer, the word offshore makes you happy because it makes the waves super flat and predictable and lined up. So the water
Okay.
is warm and the wind is offshore, and the winter swells start picking up. So it's like the combination of all the things you want for surfing: warm water, offshore, big swell, and that's what autumn is. And I missed all of
Nice.
it.
You haven't missed it yet. There's still quite a bit of autumn
Yeah.
left, isn't there? Did you say May and June were the best times? Or
April and
April?
May.
Ooh,
Well,
you gotta
June
get
is
out
also
there.
good, but it might get too big and it might get too cold as well. No, it doesn't get cold where I live. I put
Okay.
a wetsuit.
Yeah. See, it gets freezing where I am, or at least on the coastline near us. So we're in Victoria at the bottom of
Oh,
Australia.
yeah.
And yeah, I feel like we get just like all of the ice water from Antarctica.
And
Just,
that's
you
the
know,
next body of land across.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. You go
I
Tasmania
surfed.
and then
Yeah,
Antarctica.
Tasmania maybe. I surfed once in April. Actually, the world famous Bells Beach.
Mhm.
During they have this Bells Beach World Pro Tour in April, which again it's the best. The Pro Tour follows the autumn around the world pretty much, uh, and autumn is supposed to be warm, but the water was freezing down there, and I was like, "Is that the warmest all year round?" And locals were like, "Kinda." Sometimes it gets a little bit warmer, but yeah, it's rugged down where you live for surfing, but it's beautiful.
Bells Beach is lovely. Also featured in the 90s movie, uh, what is the name of that? Point Break.
Yeah,
In Point
Bodhi.
Break, if anyone's, yeah, if anyone listening has seen Point Break, it is a fantastic movie. The original, like, Bad Boys style movie, as in the movie Bad Boys with Will Smith and uh, Martin Lawrence.
Bel-
Where there's like a undercover cop who befriends like a criminal and goes on all kinds of adventures with them and eventually you know uh befriends them properly. Anyway, the end of that is meant to be shot at Bells Beach, and so there's like a shot where they're at Bells Beach in Torquay, and then it cuts to Keanu Reeves surfing, not at Bells Beach at all. So there you go. They
Catch
pretended
that
the
wave.
last
Yeah,
scene
it's funny.
was shot at Bells Beach.
The cliff shot was from Torquay. Yeah, it's a beautiful location. There's a high cliff, and then you see this really long wave. Anyway, we're great at starting podcasts and going on tangents, but I don't know about you, but I really enjoy doing this casual talk. And the more I get old and grumpy, the more I enjoy podcasts where people talk about just general stuff and don't just dive into the latest APIs and stuff. Shout out to Aaron Francis and Ian Lensman. Yeah, I just enjoy how they just catch up, almost like a friend catch up once a week, which is kind of what we do. And I like it. And you have to like it if you watch us, because this is what you get.
This is all you get. Like I feel like I've learned enough tech stuff. I want to learn random movie facts about surf beaches.
And facts about like break down some misconceptions, like the endless summer, the surf movie. Like you think that surfers chase the eternal summer. Summer is the worst season for surfing. Period. Maybe not. Right. Spring is the worst, but summer is like next worst, because it's really mushy and small, and the wind is onshore because of what I've explained before, because the land is warmer than the blah blah blah. Anyway, it should be called The Endless Autumn, the movie. I don't know if you know the movie.
Is everything reversed in the Northern Hemisphere? Like,
no, well,
is it still fall is the best time for surfing?
So in Europe, like if you look at the world tour, it starts April, May in Australia. And then I don't know where it goes, but then in September, October, which is the Northern Hemisphere stuff, it goes to Portugal and France, and like the where this is now the prime time, and it ends up in Hawaii around Christmas, because maybe Hawaii is kind of different because it's almost in the middle. I don't know if it's so winter for them is the best, because Hawaii is all about big swells, but it tends to follow autumn and winter rather than following the summer.
Yeah, right. Very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I had no idea. I should get out there and do some surfing.
Yeah. And also, like, if you visit Australia or Sydney, like Melbourne, you're gonna be cold all year round if you go swimming. Just period. Sorry to say you know it. But people think, oh, I'd love to go to Sydney and there's beaches, so I'll try to go during the summer. And if you go to Sydney at the start of summer, the ocean is actually really cold still. But if you go like now, almost the start of winter, April, May, it's just like a bath. It's really nice and warm. This right now is the best time to go in the water. And because we're nerds, tech nerds, I will let you speak after this. I've been at a few conferences in Australia, and it's always in October, November, which is the absolute worst time. Like, it's when the water is getting at the peak, because it's spring and it's like the peak cold. I remember speaking at Laracon, where I met Adam and Steve from the Tailwind team, and they were, we're gonna go for a swim at Bondi Beach, and I was like, yeah, you're gonna dip your legs and then reconsider. I think one of them went in, but Dave Hemphill or someone went, but most of them were like, nah, it's just too cold. It's the wrong time to visit Sydney and go for a swim, I guess.
I feel like with all the like boom of smart devices and AI stuff, I wonder, like, are there any like tech wetsuits that like analyze your body temperature and the water temperature and like do some heating of some that water layer in between?
Possibly, I don't know. Like, most wetsuits are very, very the opposite of smart. They're just like literally, they're actually pretty smart. It's just a layer that's, it doesn't prevent the water from touching you. Actually, to work well, a wetsuit needs to be filled with water, most wetsuits. And then what it does is that's why it needs to be very close to your body. It traps a thin layer of water between you and the wetsuit. And this water gets really warm really quickly. And then you're like in a mini bath inside your wetsuit, if that makes sense. So the way it keeps it warm, it traps this layer of cold water inside you, and like you're surrounded in warm water. But if the wetsuit is just a bit too big, like with children, parents buy a wetsuit. Oh, they're gonna grow. Let's get a size up, and then they try to make them go swim in cold water in winter. It's the worst because the new cold water replaces the one that just started heating up every time you make a movement, and you're probably colder than just going without a wetsuit at this point. But yeah, I'm interested to see if they were like, oh, I can detect that you're nice and toasty. Maybe I'll open some like little airways for the water to balance with the outside water. I don't know. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Startup ID.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was just thinking we're perfectly positioned to to build the next big tech
Wearable.
yeah, wearable wetsuit that integrated with super bass and key static to
So
to
I tell you
perfectly monitor.
because you when you speak to users, you understand the pain points. Like you wanna real user testing. The biggest problem for surfers is when you're sitting in the water and there's waves coming. It's really hard to see the next wave before the wave passes, and you see, oh, okay, well, that's what next. It's kind of like a lottery, and every now and then there's a really nice wave, but you need to paddle 200 meters that way, and you miss it because it's too late. And when you
Right.
stand up on the headland and you watch surfers, you're like, you see the wave like 2 minutes ahead from like the horizon coming in, and you're like, oh, yeah, they should just paddle this way. And you, every time you're out of the water, you're like, oh, I wish when I was in the water, someone would just point at me, or like there was like I had a little drone to scan the horizon. So
Yeah.
if you can come up with a little AI that says, hey, dude, there's a really nice left-hander in 3 waves. No one can see it. Just trust me, trust me. Paddle 200 meters there. People will think, what is he doing? And then it'll come right to you, and you'll be having fun. So
Yeah,
there's the tech. Yeah,
I wonder if you could just like fly a drone, like if you had a little like waterproof, or
a
even
drone
like
that
an
follows
Apple
you.
Watch integration or something, and you just like hover a drone above that can see the full set of waves, and then you could kind of look and be like, yeah, maybe this one isn't worth catching. Let's go to the next one.
I
I remember
promise
that
it's happening. Yeah.
anxiety, or maybe anxiety is a little bit strong, but I remember that feeling of FOMO, being like, should I take this wave or should I wait? Is the next one going to be better? And then
Oh
you
yeah.
wait, and the next one comes, and you're like, damn it, this one's tiny. I should have gotten the last one.
Yep. And it's frustrating, and it's also really dangerous. Sometimes you go for the first wave because it looks big and good, and
Hmm.
you go even more inside, closer to the beach, and you just miss that one, and then you turn around and there's the really big one. And the worst place to be is too far inside when there's a big one because it just like blasts everything on its path to the beach.
Right.
And the amount of time you paddle really hard and you just miss it, and you turn around and you go, oh no, and literally throw the board, block your nose, and go
Yeah.
down and just hope you come up after a few cartwheels on the water. Yep,
Yep.
surfers will know. But yes, this is definitely coming though. The whole drone that follows you, to first of all to film you, like this desire of like getting the thing that follows you and creates footage instead of having to have your wife or kids or friend that films, like having the thing that tracks you while you're session. I'm sure it's coming. And then also giving you information on like you can look at the little display and you can see the wave. Maybe it like even circles. Looks like AI tells me this is a 98% chance of being something you're interested in.
Hmm.
I've seen the new DJ, DJI that do the drone
I've
and
been
stuff.
looking at drones as well. Yeah.
They have this
DJI
one with it's like a vision thing, a little
VR
mask,
headset.
and
Yeah.
there's the guy doing the demo. It looks left and right, and the thing turns, and then it goes really quickly, and the drone goes. Bzzz. It follows exactly the head movement up down, and I'm like,
That's so cool.
yeah. So basically, wherever you look, the drone's camera follows the same intent. Not your
I wonder
eyeballs, or
how.
maybe even that, but the head tilts. Yeah,
Yeah, I wonder how they've, because like a big thing when VR kicked off was like people feeling sick because there was this like slight delay in them like moving their head, and then the reaction of that
yeah.
from the technology that's interpreting it. Like how do you get the latency so low with a drone that's flying in the sky to like as you turn, because it would be super disorienting if you
Yeah,
turned and then there was like a half-second delay and then the drone turned. I feel like that would be
yeah.
very
In
sick inducing.
in the demo there was clearly a little delay, but not half it, like maybe
Mm.
not enough to perceive it. but you could see like it's almost like some when you mirror someone and then lift the hand and you lift the hand as well. Like there's a information. Oh, okay, I've got you. But yeah, I feel like this is coming. The thing like waterproof little device, maybe not on your face because you're surfing. You don't want to wear like a freaking mask, but like a little watch or whatever. And it's like, yep, I know you're surfing, so I understand what height I should be. I don't want to be just above you because the wave might touch. But yeah, and you can, yeah, I know this is coming for sure. I don't know
You
if
know what? Just skip the beach altogether. If you've got the VR headset, just do some VR surfing.
stay at home. Yeah, exactly.
Get a wave pool and then
You know the amount of time I thought of getting one of these, either Apple or like a fitness watch, just to some people track their surfing and they like, oh, I've done 1 kilometer of wave riding this morning and whatever, and it tells them the paddle and the calories, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Because and then I was like, no, like the reason I go surfing is because no one can reach me. I can't think of like the past or the future. I have to focus on the present, and I'm like, the last thing I want to do is like, maybe I can just see if I can see Twitter on my like just because I know I would like take a photo and try to like tweet, oh, I'm surfing, and then I knew I would do this stuff. So I like, no, I'm not getting any tech gear in the water.
It's a good opportunity to just properly switch off and not, let yourself be bored for a second in between the waves. Let your brain have some time for creative thinking.
Yeah. What we're doing is working. We have 2 people watching live, so we haven't chased everyone.
There you go.
What's the quickest way to make them disappear?
All right, playoffs. So NBA playoffs is happening.
Yeah, basketball.
Just very quickly with the playoffs. My team is doing incredibly well. So I go for the Boston Celtics, and they finished top, not just top of the East, but top of the whole league this year. And so they've gone into the playoffs pretty strong, and they're in the second round at the moment, and they're doing very well.
Yeah, I think your Boston Celtics are going to the finals. How can we wrangle this into a tech podcast, though? Sneaking basketball.
That's a good question. Well, actually, no. If we go back to the AI,
yes,
the AI wearables and the AI, us building an AI wetsuit, there has been a big announcement. Was it yesterday? This ChatGPT 4.0 thing.
Yeah.
What is it, Simon?
It's insane. So I'm not an expert by all means, but yeah, OpenAI released a new version of GPT-4, which is called GPT-4 for Omni, because it has Omni. It will soon. I don't have access yet, but it's able to see and hear and stuff. So I don't know if you've heard of that little orange device called the Rabbit R1, which was a little box that you show stuff and what is this? And then it pings the server, and then 45 seconds later he said, oh, this is a tomato. It's actually a dog toy. Anyway. Everyone was joking.
Were not great on that, or the other. What was the other one? Not the rabbit, but the humane.
Yeah, the humane pin. Yeah.
They both got pretty slammed once they got out to the public. I think maybe they got rushed out a little too quickly, trying to hit deadlines rather than technological.
Well, yeah, a few people mentioned the fact that it's almost a trend to ship something that is unfinished and knowingly unfinished and say, hey, you buying this funds us to continue. It's almost like a early access for hardware, but it's anyway. Everyone was like, "Why is this not an app?" And what OpenAI did is exactly that. They just did the same functionality of a voice chat that you can show stuff, and the latency. I gotta say, in Australia, it's a bit slower because I don't know if they're on the edge everywhere. Like I feel like I'm talking to US East 1 when I ask a question because there's about 1 or 2 seconds. But anyway, it's a voice assistant. You can pick 3, 4, 5 different. Well, it's also the ChatGPT, the text as it's always been, and it's way faster. Like you type the question and the answer comes straight up. As Ken Wheeler was joking, they still stream it, but there's no need to because it's so fast. But they still go to kind of put emphasis on the fact that it's really fast. But the thing I've played with that I saw in the demos is like the voice thing where you talk to the person, to the assistant. You can choose about 5 or 6 different voices. I just tried one. And that's the first time that you can really have a conversation and you don't feel like you're like, hey, please explain to me what, like you have to dictate. What I did yesterday is I thought, because I'm French native, language speaking, and I thought I'll just speak in English really rough casual and say, hey, translate everything I'm gonna say. And I spoke exactly like I do now, really quick. So yeah, I'm Simon, I'm 42 years old, blah, 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 blah. And then it translated to French absolutely perfectly, every single thing I mentioned with a French accent.
Did
And
it
then
sound like your voice? Was it trying to
no,
like?
but it sounded like, so the voice assistant has an American voice, and then the exact same voice had a perfect French accent.
Nice.
And then I said, oh, in German, because I speak a bit of German. I said, can you speak German too? And he was like, yeah, sure, I can. We can continue in German if you want. And then I started trying stuff, like I spoke in English and I switched mid-sentence to French. And I said, like, from this point, I'd rather keep speaking French with you. And it answered in French, yeah, sure, like whatever you prefer. We can go back if you want. I'll do whatever you like. It's insane because it's the same voice and it speaks. And then I'm like, I haven't tried, but I bet it speaks almost any languages available, and it has the really good accent into it. So you straight think of, like, you go to Japan and you can't read the sign and you speak to someone like this language barrier, and you could say, hey, translate this question, and then just make them listen. It's amazing.
Right. So when you say it's an app, do you mean like an iOS app, like a phone app, or like a desktop app?
So
Or
I'm showing on screen for those who are watching it's just the OpenAI app, and there's a little microphone sound at the little button, and when you press it, this big O is the thing that listens.
Right. That's very cool. What do you think about the NavBar podcast?
Okay, you're gonna ask it, yeah? I can't hear, so okay. Check this out. Hey man, we live on the live stream, the NavBar podcast, and my friend John Myers wants to ask you a question.
What do you think about the NavBar podcast?
I'm ready. What does John want to ask?
Say it again.
What do you think about the NavBar podcast?
Sure. What question does John have for me?
Oh my god.
That's why
you can't hear because of the headphones, but John really interested to know what you think about the NavBar podcast. Have you heard about it? Do you like it?
You can see what you're saying about the slight delay.
Personal experiences or opinions, but I can definitely help you find information or discuss what's generally known about the NavBar podcast. If it's about web development, design, or technology, it sounds like it could be right up your alley, Simon.
Oh.
What specific topics does John want to dive into about the podcast?
Well, actually, John and I are the hosts of the podcast, and we invited you live as the third guest. Do you want to guess who the other two guests were?
That sounds like a fun challenge. Since I'm not actually aware of the live events or previous guests, I'd just be guessing. Maybe they are also folks from the design and web development community?
Nailed
Who
it.
are the other guests?
You are correct. What's your party trick? Can you show us something cool on live air? Because I know you can translate things, but I don't know what else you can do that's fun to show.
How about I generate a unique piece of art for you and the NavBar podcast audience? You can give me a theme or some details, and I'll create a digital image based on that. It could be something fun like a futuristic cityscape, or a playful interpretation of web design elements. What do you think?
All right, so we don't want an image because it's an audio podcast, but you're going to sing a song.
Tell us a joke?
No, hang on. You're going to sing a song about the NavBar podcast, and you have to place these words in the jingle is the podcast where we help you navigate the web and raise the bar of your content creation. Sing that for us.
Simon's trying to replace me. Soon it's going to start doing rap battles.
I can't sing, but I can definitely help you write a little jingle. Here's how it could go. Welcome to the NavBar podcast. Tune in. We're set to broadcast. Navigating the web. We're here to assist. Raising the bar. In content you can't resist.
Damn!
How does that sound for your podcast theme?
It sounds really good, but can you make it in German, please?
Sure. Here's a German version of the jingle. Willkommen beim NavBar Podcast. Stimmt ein, wir sind auf Sendung fast. Navigieren durchs Netz, wir helfen gern, heben den Inhalt, sehenswert und modern. Does this
That
work
is
for your
very cool.
podcast?
All right, that's enough,
All right.
robot. Thank you.
See you, mate. Thank you so much for your help. You're famous now. Any last word for the audience?
You're welcome. It was fun joining in. Take care and have a great rest of the podcast.
See ya.
It's awesome. Something that like is really noticeable is like the I don't know what it's called, but like the pauses between words. Like the articulation of the words is really nice, but there's like the gaps, the pausing, and like understanding like the flow of a conversation is really like Siri, just like steamrolls through whatever it's saying, and some other ones like just had really natural pausing.
Yeah, it feels very natural, and I don't know what you know about German, but the accent was like it was really good. And what I've noticed for using it a bit more, it didn't really do it here, but every now and then it takes a breath like before saying something, or it's got a little giggle or laugh. Like it's very human-like. If you make a joke or if you ask like a quirky request, it's gonna say, yeah, I guess I can do it. It's amazing how, like I did a conversation while I was in my backyard, and at some point I almost forgot I was talking to AI. I was like, it's almost like you talk to a real person. Pretty true.
Uh-oh. Her's gonna happen. Is it Her? Is that the movie with Joaquin Phoenix?
I don't know the movie, but I've seen people mention that a lot.
Right.
And I honestly
basically like an AI that like a personal assistant that he falls in love with. Well, it's gonna happen.
I think it's reached the point where, as of now, you could build like a help support whatever for a company, or like a book. Google I/O did last year like a demo where you say, hey, book me a hairdresser appointment for 5 p.m. and it did it kind of non-robot. This thing would work. Like you could run your business, and when someone calls and say, hey, when were you thinking of coming? And if the person says, excuse me, speak Spanish, it just goes in fluent Spanish. Like I feel like it could literally deliver really well on like customer service or whatever. And I almost thought, like, I was joking with ThinkMill. I was like, could we do like how you can train, I forgot how it's called, but you can bring context to the chat. Like say you're a design systems expert, you know React inside out, all your responses are aware of like the React community. And if you just do like a chat where people ask questions about design systems, and it say, hey, let's dive in the code, show me what you got, what like I think it could be a really cool little assistant that you can build like this as a UI where I wouldn't be surprised if people build a lot of like little assistants like this. It's really there. Like they just launched it, and that's you're supposed to be able to turn your camera. That would have been fun. Maybe we can do it next week when I have access, where it's like, hey, what do you see? It's kind of, I see a handsome bearded guy with a flannel red and like it in real time, or it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's kind of the draw card for those other devices, the Rabbit and the Humane Pin, was like it can hear what you can hear, and it can see what you can see, and like it can like give you feedback from your perspective. But like a phone can do that as well. Like a phone has even more sensors, like a crazy number of sensors as well, that it can combine with audio, video, and then text.
Yeah, the Rabbit, what people say, just take a photo of this and email it to me. And say, I cannot send emails. I am not a phone. It's like, I guess I haven't tried, but I'm sure if I ask this thing, it's going to say, did you give me permission? You need to go in your access and allow access to image gallery. And then it would, It will integrate with everything. And I think it essentially completely renders the Rabbit and Humane completely useless in like one launch. Unless you want the wearable, the gadget, because you like the looks of it.
It seems pretty unlikely that anything is going to overtake OpenAI in this race to making AI stuff the most like consumer friendly, usable stuff. They're just nailing it. Every release is just like, here's a whole like plethora of other startups that are now just
and another
bankrupt.
layer of the onion that we've just
Yeah,
yeah.
that's wild.
But
So it also looks like it's like significantly cheaper as well. Like this is like half the price of.
yeah, the API usage, I think it's 5 times. No, it's 5 times faster and 2 times cheaper or something like this.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's just getting, uh, and like you said, like every release wipes a bunch of startups or ideas, but it also creates so many new ones. You're like, oh, with these capabilities, like the thing I was just telling you, like design systems, like you could build a business in any niche, like basketball, like the play of prediction, and just like train the AI to be like a fun, sports knowledgeable person, and just like if you wanna have like a people like just love talking about sports, and I except I don't think it can see results and stuff, so you can't say, hey, what did you think of last night's game, because it's trained up to October 23. But if you can put the camera and show the score, it's gonna say, oh, I recognize the Boston Celtics logo, I guess they won yesterday, and then you can probably have a pretty cool conversation.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, like you were saying before, that like having like being able to automate a phone conversation with someone, like obviously that delay would be a little bit noticeable and frustrating with a human, but like setting up like system to system communication seems like an obvious next step. Like the hairdresser has, they have a website where you can book an appointment or whatever. They have like a specific AI line that your robot can call to have a conversation, to do something. So you can tell your AI thing, like, go and book me
Yeah.
this an appointment on this day, and it knows your calendar, and then it's talking to another robot who doesn't care about that slight delay, and they can kind of like
Yeah,
work it out.
totally.
Um,
Well,
yeah,
I do think that it's an Australian thing, because a lot of people have been raving about how instant the response is, and
right.
if you go on the OpenAI YouTube or whatever on the website, they have videos of like demos they do, and it's instant. Like it's literally like even faster than us now with the live call latency. Like it feels like a normal conversation. Sometimes the answer starts coming before the questions finish, because the AI I kind of get your point, and let me jump in. It's amazing. And one of the demos, they take 2 of these GPT-4o devices, and then they mute one, and they say, hey, I'm gonna make you talk with another AI. It can't hear you now, it's muted, but you're going to describe what you see in the room, and ask if they have questions, and just be as helpful as you can. And then they mute that one, and then explain the other, hey, we're gonna have someone describing what they see, just ask questions to try work out where you are. And then it just plays both, and they just go on this crazy discussion, show me the lights, and then like the guy moves the camera to like it's amazing. It's like two GPT-4 AIs like working together on a whatever task. And I guess that
Awesome.
demo was made to do exactly what you said. Like you can like this almost if this then that service, like Zapier, like do this and then talk to this AI that's gonna talk to this one, and then give me the JSON format output, whatever.
Yeah. And if you had like a network of these specifically trained AI things, like it could be like, oh, I can't work out, what day would be best for surfing because I don't have access to the weather training data.
Yeah.
I will like quickly check with the weather AI.
Dude,
I guess it
that's
could
like
be an API.
that's
Yeah.
a brilliant idea. Like the surfer that's driving and just literally hits GPT and say, "Hey, like you don't even have to tell where you are because of geolocation, probably, but like, oh, I'm the Santa Monica coast, whatever. Like where should I go check first today?" And it would go, in a really conversation, instead of like trying to drive while looking at the map or doing on your shitty implementation on the dashboard that only has a subset of features.
Yeah.
I feel like if there's that GPT app in your dashboard and you tap it and you converse with it, just like you can already do that with Google, and it's somewhat helpful. Like to say, hey, navigate, I need to pick up the kids, navigate there, and it shows on the map. Like if you can have conversations while driving, that'd be freaking narrowing down to a surfing community. Just train AI to be as knowledgeable about what good surf conditions are and what to look for.
Yeah.
There's an idea. Maybe
I
I
need
might
to pick
build
up
that.
the kids in 25 minutes. Which one wave can I surf between where I am currently and the school that I'm picking them up from?
There you go. Why can I get my wave fixed? No, but that's probably like, because the temptation is to build an AI that helps with everything and it helps with nothing. But if you narrow even more, like narrow down to like the surfing community in Sydney's northern beaches, and you do like something very specific that you'd feed all the data, what wave works with what conditions. I mean, it just would be a surf report, but it would be like a voice conversational one, and that's sometimes faster. Like voice command is faster than go opening the app, loading the thing, trying to gather the information in your head. Yeah, this orientation might work with. Yeah.
Or just like, I've got a really busy week this week. Can you look at all of the surf conditions for all of the beaches near me, like the predictions over the next week, and also like correlate that with like my events in my calendar, and find a time that I like, what would be the most bang for buck time for me to go and
put a
surf.
calendar event and look. Yeah.
So
you book a calendar and then you get the reminder. I know you might be busy, but you trust me, you wanted the best session. It's today at 11 a.m. Just cancel the meeting. Just
and I always hear like just like hours of profanity coming out of your mouth after this specific recurring meeting. So maybe you need to wind down a little bit after that. So the best time you could possibly go for your mental health is at this time on a Wednesday.
Since you give it access to all your personal data, and then it makes the decision. That's what an assistant, like, ideally, I've never hired a personal assistant, but I imagine you want them to know your habits and everything as well as they can. And it's like, oh, Simon likes his coffee with 1 sugar. Like, I don't put sugar in my, but just the more the person knows, the more helpful they can be. And it's like I know typically exactly what you said. Typically after the lunch meeting, like very cynical and negative. So that would be a good time to book this like yoga session or surf.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. Or just like, I can see that you're driving to the office, and like, you're going to be there in 15 minutes. So I'll automatically turn the air conditioner on or the heater on, and I'll order you a coffee from the place that's like in 10 minutes. I'll order you a coffee from the local coffee shop, and you arrive and you walk up, grab your coffee, go into your nice warm office.
There's I used to use a service called Hey You, which is exactly like, it shows you on your map, like it's kind of like Uber Eats before Uber Eats, I guess. But it showed you the different places that do takeaway or like that are connected with this service where you can order, and then the distance, and then if you want a coffee and you're driving that destination, it's like, coffee takes about 3 minutes to do, so this one might be a perfect thing. But you still have to look at the app and look at the map and make a choice. And if if the AI just wraps this and say, no, I'm gonna use that app and just work it out, and then call and order the thing, and then I'll call you back and I'll say, hey, your coffee is gonna be ready. I don't know. I have never built anything with AI, and I always thought, not that I'm missing the boat or whatever, but I kind of want to get into it. But I've played with the sandbox, like OpenAI, really early, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. You can put a prompt, and then you get that, and you pass the prompt with the next thing, and you chain it. But with this one, like, that's the first time I have like you can do really simple and very useful apps. I'm keen to try to see if I can, just follow a little idea like this surf report, and like use it as an opportunity to learn new skills on how do you integrate this with a tap to speak button, and then just provide a nice interface for the response. And that's cool.
And then you'll invest your entire family's everything that you have into this startup, and then next launch OpenAI will be like, yep, we're launching a specific surf integration built for the northern beaches of Sydney.
And then I'll feel the pain of like Rabbit R1 and Or maybe I should do a physical device that cannot talk to your phone but gives you the surf report. Yes, that feels safe.
So something else that came out this week, which is very exciting, is Astro 4.8, new version or a new point version of Astro. And the exciting thing that came out with this one is Astro Actions. So
yeah.
if you're familiar with actions in other, or you know, if you're familiar with what actions are generally, they are usually running some kind of like server-side code, and you can kind of sprinkle them throughout your applications. So they're also called actions in Next.js, and it's kind of it seems like this new phase of this style of development is, rather than like creating a server endpoint that's like a separate URL from your application, and then you're writing the code to either submit a form to that or to run that on some kind of client action, like they click a button or whatever. Rather than having that kind of separation, it's co-locating that server-side logic with the code that is actually using it. So you define an action kind of inline in the same file that you're like describing the page that the user is on. And so a really nice, simple way to just write a little bit of server-side code.
Nice. The first time I was exposed to that sort of paradigm or pattern was with remix actions. Like you would submit a form and then it would hit an action function, and then that exactly like it lives in the same file or the file where you send the form action like to a different URL. So it would run the action, and then below you would have the front end UI code. So I haven't played with Astro server actions, but it seems to me that it's the exact same concept like you described. And I was wondering, for those who don't know, we've built a website for the NavBar. It's a Astro website, and it's very simple. It's literally just listing the podcast episode, and you can play them in a player in the website. And we just have one little need for server actions. Currently, it's an API endpoint, and there's a little suggestion box where you can suggest new episode topics. And right now, it's hitting an API endpoint, and it does the whole. It works with the Notion API, but it gets the request, and it tries to sanitize and check the fields are valid, and then if yes, does a fetch. It uses fetch, I think, or something like.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if that bit would be a candidate to use the new server actions.
That is the perfect pattern to replace with server actions. So yeah, we've got like a form, and the user submits the form, and then it goes off to a endpoint and then comes back with a response. And so like having like really that's one concern on the page. The user is just typing into a box and then submitting a form. And so like that's like the user experience is there where they're using and interacting with this form. But then on the back end, we're like, we need to think about where this server endpoint is, what the URL is, and like gluing all of that together, instead of just basically, like what you would have done when everything was client side is you would just like create a JavaScript function, and you would call that function when the user submits the form.
Yeah.
And so it's
so
kind
you
of going
prevent
back.
default, and you have all the state fields. Yeah.
So it's going back to that kind of pattern, but you don't have to prevent default and switch off all of the default good behavior that the browser has in place. But that idea of co-location of here is basically just a JavaScript function that's inline in the same file, and I write the server-side logic there, and then I can trigger it from the form that's on that same page.
Yeah.
And so on the NavBar website, this would be a perfect candidate for doing this, and I think we will probably refactor that after this episode. The other cool thing that you mentioned there with the sanitization is that like everything in Astro, they have really they pick something that's really, really good at doing this and integrate it into the library. So when they did Astro DB, obviously Terso and SQLite or libsql are just like amazing for that. And so they integrated with that rather than building their own thing. And then to interact with the database, Drizzle is an amazing ORM. And so they just integrated Drizzle into Astro when you're using the database. And they've done the same thing with, I believe it's Zod, the like validation library. So you can like, when you define the action, you can define what sort of like inputs you're expecting to be posted to that action.
Yeah.
So again, that just like really tight integration with something that does this really, really well.
Yeah, that's the great part. And I imagine you can have a type on the front end and then use the same Zod type in your server action. I actually watched, shout out to Chris Pennington. I think it's called Coding in Public. The YouTube channel is a very rapidly growing YouTube channel. Basically, Chris teaches what he just learned, which is the philosophy I really like. Like there's no better time to teach something than when you just learned it. And he carved a really nice niche in the Astro world because he's spending a lot of time doing Astro stuff. And every time, like I keep thinking he's the dev role for Astro now because he does such a great job. Like when there's a new thing, you're like, okay, I'm gonna wait one day, and then Chris's video is gonna be a really nice walkthrough, and it's exactly what he did. He just, instead of just showing this is how server action works, he took an example of code that was doing some messy try catch fetch requests in a script tag, and then moved everything to src/actions/ the name of the action. So I think there's a folder convention, kind of like the content collections are in /content and actions are in /actions. And then he defined the Zod type, the expected thing from the form data from the actual form that was sent. And then you could see like how it kind of like bullet, like type safety proofs the whole thing. This is what you're expecting, and then you're gonna yell at me if one of the fields doesn't match. And then you could pass an error message if the Zod's validation, if it's too short or too long, you can have an error message display. And it turned this, like, the entirety of an app used to feel like spaghetti code in the days of doing jQuery and stuff, where we would just take something from the DOM and change it and then assign it, and like everything was doing stuff everywhere. And in his app demo, like, there's this beautiful structure of components, and then there's a script tag that feels kind of like spaghetti, even if it's not. And then this part gets moved to this server action, and it suddenly feels super simple and predictable like the rest of the code base. And basically, instead of doing the whole await try catch stuff in a script tag, he could replace it with like just a link to that action and pass the form data in a one-liner. And it was like, this example really showed the value of that instead of just showing how it works. So I highly recommend that video. I'll share it in the, in the show notes that we keep talking about.
Yeah, those show notes. Yeah. It'll definitely just check the show notes. Everything's there.
But yeah, shout out Chris, good guy, good teacher, going places. I think he's got now 45,000 subscribers. Like, he's started not long ago at all in the YouTube age, like dog years and YouTube years, you know.
Almost halfway to that silver play button.
You can't see, it's just off. No, I don't have one.
Have you got one?
No.
Oh.
I have secret dreams that Tailwind Labs will send it to me when the channel reaches, and it's like at 90 plus. Oh, actually, it might be 100K now. But I also have a feeling that I'll see it on Adam's background in one video and be like,
mine.
This is mine.
Yeah, no, I have a similar feeling about Superbase. If we make it to 100K and get the silver play button, I think it should be on my wall. And
yes,
yeah, when I leave the company, it's not going back.
There will be community outpour if it doesn't happen.
That's right.
And you can do the same for Tailwind.
Yeah, we will get our millions of NavBar subscribers and active listeners to rally behind us.
Yeah,
for those
50. The comment said 50,000 live audience. Yes.
Oh, look at that, 50,000. That's amazing. Thanks for tuning in. The other one that happened this week, more controversy, fun controversy, and the web getting very upset about stuff. The let versus const conversation. So have you ever? Well, I guess I should just ask you, what do you prefer to use? Do you use const for things, let for things? Do you use let properly to say that something is mutatable?
So, interesting question. I have always used const unless I knew I'm defining this and I know it's going to be changed down further a few lines. And then I was using let to say, hey, this is clearly something assigned, but it's meant to be changed. But then because I was at Epic Conf. The
Mm.
dogs are going off. I don't know what's going on. I
Oh, did
was
you
at
see the talk live?
Yes, so the start of this whole thing is entirely Ryan Florence's fault. He knows it. He takes accountability. But basically, he did a lightning talk, which was 5 minutes, but turned out 12 or 13 minutes, I think. I know the MCs were like, "Get off the stage!" I mean, but the whole talk was actually a really good argument. I hope he does this version plus a few of the, because he's at React Conf these next few days in Vegas. The talk was all about, like, it showed three different things that people invented for one use and were completely used for something different. Like dynamite was invented for mining and stuff, and then people use it to kill each other. And he had Ryan. I don't know if you've seen him speaking live, but it's public speaking slash stand-up comedy. Like, he's really funny. And one of them was the Q-tip, the inventor of the Q-tip. Like, everyone uses a Q-tip when their ear is blocked and they try to get something out. And it says on the box, "Do not insert in the ear canal." And it's supposed to clean around the top and the different parts.
The way
of
no
the
one's ever used it for ever.
Everyone that has used a Q-tip in their life, they went in the ear and turned around hoping something comes out. And it's anyway, he used these examples to segue into the fact that the creator of ES6 language wanted to only use let, and then somehow const got added. But he was very clear about, oh, you should not use const, you should use let, and basically everyone started using const. And then he showed a few tweets of this guy's life being completely made miserable with everyone using const the wrong way. And he was like, the guy who created this tells you you should not use this. And then he had a few other arguments about how const is much more work to pronounce if you're in a meeting, like the effort to say const and then versus let. There was lots of good arguments. And then I was like, actually, I never thought about it, but like, I feel like progressively I start using let because not because of the verbal pronunciation, but the fact that we ruined the ES6 creators' life by using const. And I was like, there was actually valid points in that thing. So yeah, that was and then I haven't refactored anything, but every now and then when I define stuff and I go const, I'm like, maybe I should use let just to see what happens.
Yeah. I feel like when I was starting to to get good at JavaScript, and when React was coming up and learning all of that stuff, there was such a focus on like functional programming, or trying to write things as functionally as possible. So rather than mutating a value ever, you would create a new value. And when I worked at the first kind of big company that I worked at was REA, which no one who's listening is going to know what I'm talking about, but an Australian real estate listing site. And they were like very heavy in the functional programming stuff. All of their backend is written in like Scala and lots of functional programming paradigms. And so it got kind of like drilled into me early on that you never mutate anything, even like if you've got a variable that's in local scope and you just want to change the value of it or whatever, you create a new variable that represents whatever the new changed version of that is. And so I just have it so deeply ingrained in me that like I always, like, if I'm gonna like iterate over an array and change something, like I will always map over it and then use the new version of that array rather than mutating the existing one. And so I don't know, I've just like, I don't think I think there's been maybe a handful of times ever that I've used let, and it's just been because I want
You've
to
been drilled into never mutating anything.
But I feel like I feel like we like, I don't know, I think it communicates that the intention is not to change this thing. Like when you're talking about whether it's actually enforced by the language or whether it's just us pretending that it's const, it still communicates to other people that like this is a variable that we're not mutating. And I feel like that there are so many, like JavaScript, you can do anything. There are so many things that aren't actually enforced by the language that you use in particular ways. And everyone just follows conventions so that we don't have a terrible time writing code. And I feel like const is just another one of those where like you're saying that your intention is to use this as a constant, but I think it's fine that it's not actually enforced by the by the language, that it is a constant that can never be changed.
Yeah, well, that was one of the part in Ryan's talk. He showed all the example where you can redefine a constant or change the object properties inside it, and then he was like, if your intention is to really make this immutable, he showed like how you have to wrap it in object that freeze, and then if it's in use effect, you have to do a function that returns object that freeze that object. You had this like 7 or 8 line super complicated stuff to make sure it cannot change. But yeah, I do remember. I think I was at the same sort of life cycle when I started getting serious about JavaScript and stuff. I took Dan Abramoff's course on Redux on Egghead, and when like this is the one that I thought I came in to learn Redux because that was the thing that was coming, and instantly I was like, oh, this is a course about functional programming and how you should not mutate stuff, and like the whole concept of Redux is you spread the existing stuff and then you change, like you never mutate anything. And I learned all these patterns about like slice versus splice and all the things to make sure you don't mutate the actual thing. And that I remember back in then, that's when all these like immutable.js and all these libraries came to try to make sure nothing is ever mutated. And then I think there was a return to like Svelte was like, no, just mutate the thing, and behind the scenes we'll do and slowly like Signals also feel like this, where you just redefine the thing and we're gonna make it work. And so it goes back to actually you don't have to do this whole dance of making sure that you clone the thing before you change it to make sure.
Yeah, I guess like React really did kind of create that problem with that top-down like data flow where you can't just change something lower down. You need to kind of tell everything to re-render. You need to kind of like tell React that something has changed. And so I guess that's where like the use state came in with, well, I guess before that you had like class components with this dot set state. And so, yeah, I guess it's a problem that was created there that's now, Ryan created Remix, and Remix is built on React. So he's part of the problem.
Oh yeah. It's an interesting conversation, and I wish I could watch his talk at because I imagine he's got a longer slot than just 5 minutes or 12 minutes at ReactConf.
Awesome.
He definitely sparked a like it's still going now, the let versus cons. It's funny how some tweets just catch fire and reach like Jason Langsdorff did a tweet today, and he used the term like it escaped my circle of follow. Like most of the stuff you do on Twitter, the same people are involved with it, and every now and then it just breaks through that and goes into like NBA Twitter and like surfing Twitter. Like you just when it goes completely viral, and then I think let versus const has reached like some people have no idea what it means, but they've seen it and they like start the debate. Oh, let's jump in on that thing.
Yeah, it's the way we all come together by driving
drama
apart.
Picking a side, we're good at people.
Pick
a side.
We all get brought together by picking a side and telling the other side they're wrong. So Simon, do you have a sick pick for me today?
You know me, I don't have a sick pick.
All right, I'm gonna give you some time to think about it. Look around the room. I'm gonna jump in with a pole saw. I don't think I've picked this one yet. I'm going through all of my tools that I've recently purchased that I just love.
You should do a bundle, like a package, like /uses page with all the gardening tools, and then
absolutely. And we definitely need to get this segment sponsored by Ryobi, because I think both of us have way too much Ryobi stuff.
You said look around and all I see is Ryobi yellow stuff.
So a pole saw is like a little chainsaw, but like 3 meters in the air. So you have a big stick, and you have a chainsaw at the end of the stick, and it means that you can like get to branches and things that are like, you know, way out of reach. And it's so useful. Like it we don't use it like constantly, but when I do, I'm just so glad that we have a pole saw. It's
Seems pretty
yeah.
deadly too. Like having a
Oh yeah,
chainsaw
absolutely.
dangling above your head. Like, ah!
Yeah, it's super dangerous. Yeah.
Is there
So like
a handle that if you release it stops spinning, or if you trip
yeah,
over?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you need to hold like the safety switch down and then also
And the
turned on, and then the blade is spinning, and as soon as you release either of those, it just cuts out. But like you're not just cutting massive branches above your head and letting them fall on your head and having a crazy chainsaw spinning in the sky. The like the helpful improving safety use case is like you have a branch that's mostly snapped and you don't want it to just
it's
fall
going
at
to
some
fall on the
random.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you want to control a time when, all right, it's safe to drop this now. And so, yeah, that's when I've used it a couple of times, that there have just been dangling limbs
Yeah.
above cars or above
After the
children.
wind. So if you don't
Yeah.
know, one thing about Australia is when there's a windstorm, next day there's like massive gum tree branches on the road, and yeah, these trees
Yeah.
tend to snap easily and dangle exactly like you said. They just dangle off one bit, and you know they're gonna fall. So may as well just do it in
Yeah.
a controlled way. Yeah.
It's like pulling a tooth. Like you just gotta, like, it's holding on with one strand. You just gotta yank it out.
Yeah. Attach it to the door handle and then slam the door. Like
That's right. Yeah, this tooth's going to come out at some point. That branch is going to fall down at some point, but you can be in control with a pole saw or a bit of string.
I have a lame, very lame sick peek, but I'm gonna sick peek stickers. My kids, I brought these stickers from Epic Web, especially this one from, what is it? Fly.io. Look at this.
Fly.io.
Look how
Very
cute.
cool.
They have
That's
the best
very
color brand, and the kids, like,
Yeah.
I brought 4 or 5 of these, thinking I'm gonna put one on my car, one on my laptop, and the kids, that's the last one I have. The kids took all the others. They counted how many, and then they divided by an equal number and left me the rest, which was 1.
Oh, that's awesome. At
But
least
yeah,
they didn't cut the last one in half.
Yeah, stickers, like, I think Wes Boss mentioned that, like, conference swag that is kid compatible is the best, because you go to a conference as a speaker or even attendee, you go to a conference and you have limited time, and then you're like, oh, I should really find something for the family and the kids, especially the kids. And then if in the swag bag you receive, Epic WebConf had all these stickers, and there was a little Rubik's Cube that I gave to my kids. Like, it's like, oh, there's the gift. I'm free of like picking something at the airport that's overpriced and not really useful, but I have to bring something. You know, like you get the typical T-shirt that says the place where you went, and they wear it twice, and it was like $60, and you're like, that was silly.
Yeah.
So shout out to stickers and kid-friendly conference swag, which
Nice.
and then adult-friendly stuff. I like my stuff.
Yeah.
Useful conference swag could be my the scope of my sick peek can be extended.
I think that's key, is just useful swag all over, whether it's conferences or whether it's like stuff you send out from a company.
I saw a tweet from Knut from I think that's how you say his name, is the DevRel at Sanity, Knut and Simeon Griggs. And Knut, like, speaking of swag, we went to Utah, which is, people know a lot of things about Utah, but they don't know the air is crazy dry. Like, it has 0% humidity.
Salt, all that salt in the air.
Yeah. Well, someone, I think, John Lundquist, I think, who's the one, like, from Egghead, who told me that's because of the salt. No, it's not John. Sorry, it's the Uber driver when I landed after 30 hours of flying. He was explaining, like, the Salt Lake evaporate, and there's so much salt it literally sucks all the moisture. And the first day, I remember I met Kenzie Dodds for the first time in person, and within 2 minutes we saw Knut, and Kent said to Knut, dude, you nailed it with the lip balm for the conference swag. People will thank you later. And I was like, awesome. Why? Like, lip balm? Okay, I guess if you go skiing, whatever. And by the day 2 or 3, everyone had like completely dry lips and putting this thing. And that was and I don't know if Knut knew about it, or they just happened to have this lip balm that they go to every conference with. But for Utah, that was like the most, like that's the people go to Utah and they look for moisturizer and stuff after 2 days because you start peeling off, like it's so dry if you're not used to it. And in the hotel room there was this body lotion, and at first I was like, oh, I don't really use body lotion ever. And after 1 or 2 showers, like, oh, I'm gonna put some of that milk creamy, because you just completely dry out. So yeah, shout out to Knut and Sanity. And while I'm in the topic, I don't know if you've seen, I take full credit for this happening. The Tailwind Labs team said on Twitter, hey, we flew the whole team first class to ReactConf. One of our team members cannot come from Copenhagen to LA. We have this flight ticket. It's non-refundable. We're going to give it to someone. You just come up with a compelling story, like why we should give it to you.
Yeah.
And then Simeon Griggs from Sanity said something cool. Like I forgot what he said, but he mentioned something. And I instantly like said, dude, give it to him. He's like, because I had met him at Epic Web. I said, this guy is amazing. He's so much fun. He's cool to hang out. Good dude. And then I went to bed, and the next day I saw Simeon got the ticket. I'm sure other people vouched in, but I take full credit. Anyway, this guy just got flown, not only flown to ReactConf and the ticket and the hotel. Maybe not the ticket. Yes, the ticket, I think. But definitely the hotel for the whole stay and the first class stuff. And he's 1.94 m, he said, so flying is always a terrible experience. And he took some photos of him, like legs completely stretched out, not reaching the next seat, and like leaving when you almost don't want to leave the plane because it's too good. It's like a cruise.
Yeah.
And he's in Vegas now, and he's doing the thing that I knew he would do. He brings people together and he goes for a run and like visit stuff. And he took Robin from the Tailwind Labs team, and they went visiting stuff. And I'm sure they won't regret giving the ticket to him because he's an awesome guy. He's the one, he came to the NBA game with me in Salt Lake City. He was like, I don't really care about sports, but I love attending events and I love witnessing people realizing a childhood dream. So I'll just come with you.
Nice.
Yeah. So why? Sanity, Knut, Lipborn, Sanity, Simeon. This is my shout out.
This is the problem: is you have no sick picks, you have no shout outs, and then all of a sudden you have 20, and you just burn through all of them. You got to say, see, I've got a list of tools. I didn't just pick Ryobi as a tool manufacturer. I listed every tool I have.
I picked that thing already last week. I don't have tools. I don't live in the forest like you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm a people. I honestly was gonna pick another thing, which was, I'll keep it for another week. But it's not a tool; it's a person.
Okay. It's me.
Okay, Simon.
Is it me?
No.
All right. That's where we're going to leave it this week. Thank you so much for listening. We will hopefully see you again next week. If there are, as long as everyone stays healthy enough and nothing is too on fire in our lives or our works, we'll see you then. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye.